What's up, Star Wars fans? Today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and terrifying dynamics in the entire galaxy, far, far away. We're talking about the relationship between Master and Apprentice that defined an empire, Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader. Now, most fans know about Vader's brutal efficiency as the Emperor's enforcer, his unwavering loyalty, and that iconic breathing. But what many don't realize is that there were exactly 2 times in Star Wars lore where these titans of the dark side actually crossed lightsabers in mortal combat. And spoiler alert, Palpatine won both times. And not just because of raw power. Today we're breaking down these legendary duels, analyzing the tactics, the psychology, and the sheer strategic brilliance that kept the most cunning Sith Lord in history on top. From the Legends continuity to canon material, we're covering it all. But first, let's talk about why these duels even happened in the first place. See, to understand these duels, you need to understand the fundamental nature of the Sith. The Rule of Two, established by Darth Bane, states that there should only be 2 Sith at any time, a master to embody power and an apprentice to crave it. But here's the kicker. The apprentice is supposed to eventually kill the master. It's not just encouraged, it's the entire point. The stronger apprentice overthrows the weaker master, ensuring the Sith grow more powerful with each generation. Palpatine knew this, Vader knew this, and yet, for over 2 decades, Vader never successfully challenged his master. Why? Well, that's where these 2 duels come in, because they reveal the absolute, chess master level manipulation that kept Palpatine in power. The Emperor didn't just rely on raw force power, though he had plenty of that. He relied on psychological warfare, strategic timing, and a deep understanding of his apprentice's weaknesses that he had helped create. Our first duel takes us into the Legends continuity, specifically the Dark Empire storyline. This is set about 6 years after Return of the Jedi, and here's where things get wild. Palpatine has returned in a cloned body, and he's more powerful than ever. The confrontation happens when Vader, still believing in some version of the prophecy and his own destiny, decides it's finally time to claim his rightful place as Dark Lord of the Sith. He's had years to plan, years to prepare, and he thinks he's ready. The duel takes place in Palpatine's throne room, familiar territory for the Emperor, which is already a tactical advantage. But watch how this plays out, because it's a masterclass in Sith manipulation. Right from the start, Palpatine doesn't just rely on his lightsaber skills. He immediately goes for psychological attacks, reminding Vader of his failures, his weaknesses, his dependence on the suit that keeps him alive. You are broken, Lord Vader. You were broken the moment you knelt before me on Mustafar. And here's the brutal truth. Palpatine designed Vader's suit to be a weakness. The life support systems, the heavy armor, the limited mobility, these weren't just medical necessities. They were chains. The suit makes Vader powerful, yes, but it also makes him slow, vulnerable to lightning, and psychologically dependent. During the duel, Vader initially holds his own. His raw strength and decades of combat experience show. But Palpatine isn't fighting fair. He never does. He uses the environment, manipulating objects with the Force, creating distractions and constantly attacking Vader's mind as much as his body. The turning point comes when Palpatine feints a retreat, baiting Vader into an overconfident advance. Classic misdirection. Vader lunges for what he thinks is a killing blow, and Palpatine springs his trap, a concentrated burst of Force lightning, directly into Vader's life support systems. And there it is. The duel's over in seconds. Vader's suit starts failing, his breathing becomes labored, and he's forced to submit or die. Palpatine had turned Vader's greatest strength, his mechanical enhancement, into his greatest weakness. "You see, my old friend," Palpatine says, "you were never meant to replace me. You were meant to serve me forever." Now let's jump to our second duel. And this one's from the current canon, specifically from the incredible Darth Vader comic series by Charles Soule. This duel happens much earlier in Vader's career, shortly after the events of Revenge of the Sith. The context here is crucial. Vader is still adjusting to his new body, still raw from his defeat on Mustafar, and still struggling with the loss of Padme. He's angry, he's reckless, and he's starting to question whether Palpatine truly has his best interests at heart. The confrontation begins as a training session, but it quickly becomes clear that this is a test, and not just of Vader's combat abilities. It's a test of his loyalty, his psychology, and his willingness to accept his place in the New Order. Palpatine approaches this duel completely differently than the first one. Where the Legends' confrontation was about crushing rebellion, this one is about shaping a weapon. The Emperor needs to break down Vader's remaining independence and rebuild him as the perfect enforcer. From the moment they ignite their sabers, Palpatine is in complete control, not just of the fight, but of the narrative. He's constantly talking, constantly probing, finding every psychological weakness and exploiting it, ruthlessly. "Tell me, Lord Vader," he says, while deflecting Vader's attacks with casual ease, "do you still dream of her? Do you still hear her voice calling out to you in the dark?" What's terrifying about this duel is how effortless Palpatine makes it look. Vader is pouring everything into his attacks, all his rage, all his pain, all his newfound power, and the Emperor is just playing with him, redirecting strikes, using minimal movement, conserving energy, while Vader exhausts himself. And then Palpatine starts demonstrating abilities that Vader doesn't even know exist. Advanced force techniques, manipulation of the environment, on a scale that makes Vader's powers look like parlor tricks. It's a deliberate display of the gap between them. The end comes when Palpatine doesn't just defeat Vader, he breaks him. Using the Force, he pins Vader to the ground and then does something truly cruel. He shows Vader a vision of what could have been, a glimpse of the life he might have had with Padme, the children they might have raised. "This could have been your future," Palpatine whispers, "if you had been stronger, if you had been worthy. But you were weak, Anakin, and weakness has consequences." It's psychological torture disguised as a lesson, and it works perfectly. Vader doesn't just lose the duel, he loses a piece of his soul. Any remaining thoughts of rebellion are crushed beneath the weight of his own perceived failures. So, why did Palpatine win both times? The answer isn't just raw power, though he certainly had that. The real answer is strategy, preparation, and psychological warfare spanning decades. First, Palpatine designed Vader's entire existence to ensure he could never truly threaten his master. The suit, the castle on Mustafar, the missions he was sent on, everything was calculated to keep Vader powerful enough to be useful, but never powerful enough to be dangerous. Second, Palpatine never stopped studying his apprentice. He knew Vader's combat patterns, his emotional triggers, his fears and his desires. Better than Vader knew them himself. When you know your opponent that completely, victory becomes inevitable. Third, and this is crucial, Palpatine held back during Vader's training. The Emperor never showed his full power, never revealed his complete arsenal of abilities. Vader thought he knew what he was up against, but he had only seen the tip of the iceberg. But the most important factor, Palpatine understood that the real battle wasn't physical, it was psychological. He didn't need to kill Vader in either duel. He needed to break his spirit, to remind him of his place, to reinforce the chains of loyalty and dependence. In both confrontations, Palpatine wasn't just fighting an apprentice who had gotten too ambitious. He was conducting a masterclass in dominance, ensuring that Vader would never again question who truly held the power in their relationship. These two duels reveal something terrifying about Palpatine's character, his ability to plan decades in advance, to manipulate even his closest allies and to turn strength into weakness through sheer cunning. They also make Vader's eventual redemption in Return of the Jedi even more powerful. It took the love for his son and Luke's unwavering faith in his father's goodness to finally break the chains that Palpatine had so carefully forged. What do you think? Did Palpatine's victories make sense? Or do you think Vader should have been able to defeat his master? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Sith politics and warfare, make sure to subscribe for more Star Wars content. Thanks for watching, and remember, always let the hate flow through you.